North Korea to launch new satellite. Seoul, South Korea. North Korea vowed to launch 3 new spy satellites, build military drones, and boost its nuclear arsenal in 2024 as leader Kim Jong-un said U.S. policy is making war inevitable, state media reported on Sunday. Don't miss any update, subscribe my channel for entertainment news. Kim lashed out at Washington in lengthy remarks wrapping up 5 days of ruling party meetings that set economic, military and foreign policy goals for the coming year. Because of reckless moves by the enemies to invade us, it is a fait accompli that a war can break out at any time on the Korean peninsula, he said, according to state news agency KCNA. He ordered the military to prepare to pacify the entire territory of South Korea, including with nuclear bombs if necessary, in response to any attack. Kim's speech comes ahead of a year that will see pivotal elections in both South Korea and the United States. Experts predict North Korea will maintain a campaign of military pressure for leverage around the U.S. presidential elections in November, which could see the return of former President Donald Trump, who traded in both threats and historic diplomacy with Kim. Pyongyang might be waiting out the U.S. presidential election to see what its provocations can buy it with the next administration, said Leif Erik Easley, professor of international studies at Ewha Women's University in Seoul. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden says it is open to talks, but it imposed new sanctions as North Korea pushed ahead with more missile tests banned under United Nations sanctions. The U.S. also increased drills and deployed more military assets, including nuclear-armed submarines and large aircraft carriers, near the Korean peninsula. Further provocation is always possible to highlight North Korea's presence ahead of the U.S. presidential election, South Korea's Unification Ministry said in a statement analyzing the KCNA report. North Korea could maintain its hard-line stance against the U.S. and anti-American, anti-imperialist solidarity, and also seek opportunities to turn the situation around at the same time. Pressing forward, Kim said the return of such weapons had completely transformed South Korea into a forward military base and nuclear arsenal of the United States. If we look closely at the confrontational military actions by the enemy forces, the word war has become a realistic reality and not an abstract concept, Kim said. Kim said he has no choice but to press forward with his nuclear ambitions and forge deeper relations with other countries that oppose the United States. North Korea has deep ties with both China and Russia. North Korea is preparing for further escalation of tension with Washington and Seoul, for at least a year or more, and its hard-line policies are likely to be accompanied by efforts for dialogue as well ahead of the U.S. election, Young UK, an analyst at the Asan Institute for Policy Studies, said. Kim is building on his success of the spy satellite to do 3 more because he knows satellite capabilities are a powerful targeting tool for better nuclear command and control. South Korea holds a parliamentary election in April that could impact the domestic and foreign agenda for conservative President Yoon Suk-yeol, who has maintained a hawkish stance toward Pyongyang. South Korea's National Intelligence Service (NIS) warned on Thursday that there is a high possibility that North Korea could unexpectedly conduct military provocations or stage a cyber attack in 2024, when fluid political situations are expected with the elections. Pyongyang has now ruled out the possibility of unifying with South Korea, and the country must fundamentally change its principle and direction toward South Korea, Kim said. North-South relations are no longer a kinship or homogeneous relationship but have completely become a relationship between 2 hostile countries, 2 belligerents at war, he said, calling the South a colonized state completely dependent on the United States for national defense and security. Both Yoon's ruling party and the opposition Democratic Party slammed the Sunday report and urged North Korea to return to dialogue for peace talks. If North Korea repeats hostile acts, we will respond strongly using all means and methods. If the Kim Jong-un regime misjudges the situation and makes a wrong decision, the Republic of Korea will definitely correct it based on its overwhelming power, the ruling People Power Party said in a commentary. Kim also promised to develop the economy, including the metals, chemicals, power, machinery and railway sectors, while modernizing weak facilities to boost production. One key policy goal is to invest in science and technological research at schools, he said. Kim promises further military modernization after conducting a record number of weapons tests in 2023. North Korea has said it will launch 3 more military spy satellites, build military drones and boost its nuclear arsenal in 2024, continuing a military modernization program that saw a record number of weapons tests this year. Pyongyang put a spy satellite into orbit in November at its third attempt and this month, again launched its most powerful intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM, which is seen as having the range to deliver a nuclear warhead to anywhere in the United States. The task of launching 3 additional reconnaissance satellites in 2024 was declared as one of the key policy decisions for 2024 at the end of a 5-day party meeting chaired by leader Kim Jong-un, the official Korean Central News Agency KCNA reported. Kim wrapped up the meeting on Saturday, lashing out at the US, which he blamed for making war inevitable. Because of reckless moves by the enemies to invade us, it is a fait accompli that a war can break out at any time on the Korean peninsula, Kim said, according to KCNA. He ordered the military to prepare to pacify the entire territory of South Korea, including with nuclear bombs if necessary, in response to any attack. Experts say North Korea aims to continue its policy of military pressure to try and increase any leverage around November's presidential elections in the U.S., where former President Donald Trump is bidding to return to power. When Trump was last in office, he held 2 summits with Kim and met him at the demilitarized zone that divides the 2 Koreas, but while the events made lots of headlines, they failed to make any breakthrough. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration has deepened political and military ties with South Korea and imposed new sanctions as Pyongyang has tested more weapons. Washington has also deployed nuclear-powered submarines in South Korea as well as flown its long-range bombers in drills with Seoul and Tokyo. Pyongyang might be waiting out the U.S. presidential election to see what its provocations can buy it with the next administration. Leif Erik Easley, a professor of international studies at Ewha Women's University in Seoul, wrote in an email. Kim said he could not ignore such U.S. deployments, claiming such weapons had completely transformed South Korea into a forward military base and nuclear arsenal of the U.S. If we look closely at the confrontational military actions by the enemy forces, the word war has become a realistic reality and not an abstract concept, Kim said. Kim said he has no choice but to press forward with his nuclear ambitions and develop deeper relations with other countries that oppose the U.S. North Korea has deep ties with both China and Russia. South Koreans will also go to the polls in April for a parliamentary election that could affect the domestic and foreign agenda of President Yoon Suk-yeol, a conservative who has maintained a hawkish stance towards Pyongyang. South Korea's National Intelligence Service, NIS, warned on Thursday that there was a high possibility that North Korea could unexpectedly conduct military provocations or stage a cyber attack in 2024, when fluid political situations are expected with the elections. Speaking at the end of the party meeting, Kim said he would no longer seek reconciliation and reunification with South Korea, noting the persisting uncontrollable crisis situation.